Cross Hotels and Resorts is a company. While we're based in Asia, it's a fully owned company out of Flight Centre, out of Australia, which a lot of the people listening to this podcast would know. We know what the customer wants. We know what the customer needs, and we know what type of demographic is going into what area. We can never obviously influence a guest where to go or where to travel. Anyone that goes picks their holiday. You want to ensure that you're using data for decisions about when you can yield your rate, right? When you can get that higher room rate, when you're not outpricing yourself. It's about making decisions not once a month when you pull out the book and you look at are we going to make the business or not? It's making informed decisions all the way. You have to find the balance in hotels, we look at what we call volume, so it's occupancy, or you look at yield, right? If you're really good, you can do both.
Hi guys, and welcome to another podcast from Geonet Property and Finance Group. My name's Chad Egan. I'm CEO and founder, and today we've got a very special guest with us. In fact, it's a guest that a lot of our channels and our mortgage brokers and our investors have been waiting to hear from. Some of them have met already. I have the regional manager of Bali with me, Mr. Evan Burns.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Evan, our podcasts have been incredibly important over the last couple of years. A lot of our investors come from Australia, as you know, and it's been very important for them to get an understanding of what's happening behind the scenes. But who are the people behind the scenes? So today we're going to grill you and get a better understanding of what you do, what does Cross do with Geonet Property and Finance Group, and how is that important for our upcoming projects as well. We've already signed for our project that's going to be coming out in a few months. Our lands near Cafe Del Mar. We're working on our second and our third together. But I want to get a bit of an understanding. I get everyone to understand a little bit more about you and your experience. Where have you come from in the hospitality industry?
Well, thanks for having me on. It's such a pleasure to start with. But I've been in Indonesia for 12 years now, Chad. So it's Bali is a second home. Indonesia is a second home. I have a beautiful Indonesian wife and a eight-year-old boy who's half Australian, half Indonesian. So it's Bali resonates for me. But if we backtrack where I've come from, I worked in hospitality pretty much straight out of school. Even before school, I got the bug and realised that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So
that's lucky as a kid to know that very early on, and then to succeed in those goals as well.
I joined because my father used to stay in hotels for his work, and I used to have to go along with him. And back then they take it on themselves to give you that real hospitality spirit, and that was why I joined, and that was why I decided I wanted to do this. There was an old doorman in one of the hotels who used to wear the big fancy jackets and the top hat. And I said, I want to be working in hotels one day, like this guy. So that's what I did. And it took me from Melbourne, where is my home, took me from Melbourne to...
Whereabouts in Victoria was that?
Actually, I'm from country Victoria. So Gippsland, my first property was the Westin in Melbourne. It was the old City Square. It was a brand new hotel at the time. And
Still there?
Still there today. So Western Melbourne was my first glimpse of city life in Melbourne, and I grew, and I was hungry, and I wanted to do more and more, and I wanted the bug to experience bigger and better things. So I took that to a hotel called Sheraton on the Park in Sydney. It was a flagship property at the time. It was a monster. It was 557 rooms. And
that's a huge hotel in anyone's language, right? That's a lot of people.
And there was a very famous hotelier who took me in. And back then when I joined, it was the global financial crisis, right? And he took me in, and I was hired like a couple of days before. And he said to me, made me stand up in a big town hall in front of everyone. And he said, you young man, you stand up. You're the last person that we hired during the GFC, the global financial crisis. So don't let us down. And I remember that. No pressure. I remember that for years to come. And it's I look back on I did everything in my power to make myself successful, but most importantly, looking after the guests. So it was a great ride. From there, went to Fiji. So I was in big complex there. It was 2 hotels in Fiji, Denera Island. Sheraton, Fiji, Western Fiji, and I got the bug, so hungry to work as an expat overseas, and
Wow.
I did that, and I said, right, I need
that
ball.
resonates.
And then 12 years fast forward, I got moved to Jakarta, and I've never left Indonesia ever since. So that's kind of the summary of where I came from. But Bali resonates for me because it's the people are so nice.
Hospitality is amazing. It's a tourist mecca for so many. And then for me and so many other Australians, Bali is like our sister country.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So that fast forward on, and I back then I was working for a company, Stowell, which doesn't exist these days. It's for those who know, it's merged with Marriott. So it was a great part of my life, and I learned a lot that I carry on to this day about looking after people, looking after the owner, looking after the investor, whatever it might be, is something that company taught well, and I bring it into my everyday life. So 12 years on in Indonesia, I work for Cross Hotels now, and that's how we're sitting together today.
Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about Cross a little bit. You say I can't use the word boutique, but for lack of a better word at the moment, Cross is very boutique, which comes with I think an amazing opportunity because it's very focused support that you can give as a hotel operator. So talk to me about being as a hotel operator, and talk to me a little bit more about Cross.
So Cross Hotels and Resorts is, as you said, we don't use boutique, we don't use bespoke. We're a global alternative. So we can do everything that some of the big companies can do and better, but more personalised. We look after our stakeholders exceptionally well. Our stakeholders can be owners, can be investors, it can be the people. Anyone that sets foot in this is something that we try to look after. So Cross Hotels and Resorts is a company. While we're based in Asia, it's a fully owned company out of Flight Centre, out of Australia, which a lot of the people listening to this podcast would know. So Cross Hotels and Resorts, we play in 4 countries at the moment. So Indonesia, Thailand, Japan, and Vietnam. And we have 28 hotels currently in our portfolio that's operating and contracted hotels, with a lot more in the pipeline. So I'm country manager. I look after Indonesia. We have 7 hotels operating now, and we have another 5 in the pipeline. So
including our few.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So when I make that choice as the owner of Geonet, I'm making that choice on behalf of our investors as well. Like, who do we choose as a hotel management company? So yes, okay, we're the ones that have signed the contracts. But it was very selective of who we chose as well. So again, we say bespoke, but we get the attention of how do we run this out? How do we build it to the best standards? How do we make the client so happy? But of course, one of the big contributing factors was the fact that you guys are fully owned by Flight Centre. So talk me through that relationship a little bit. How does Flight Centre help you? How does Flight Centre help us as the hotel owner? How does Flight Centre help our investors behind that as well?
I think we'll break it down, if you don't mind, a little bit. So whilst Flight Centre is our owner, and it gives a lot of stability to our company and investors and everything that might bring along with it, being a publicly listed company. But most importantly, Cross is its company in its own right, with the backing of one of the biggest flight travel companies in the world, right? So whilst we have bricks and mortar shops and so on, that the viewers will remember, are going into all the malls and everything.
Yes, there's a lot more to them than that, right?
Yeah, it's just Flight Centre have 40-odd companies to do with the travel industry. So Flight Centre, let's just talk Bali, right?
Yes.
So as of 2023, going into 2024 and the future for this month, Bali's looking at around about 600, 700,000 and growing customers, right? Flight Centre put in about 25% of that customer into the Bali Islands, right? If you look at the top 15 destinations where the Flight Centre customer is going, Indonesia is the number 1 destination that Flight Centre is booking, right? So being part of Cross Hotels and Resorts and being owned by this company, but most importantly, Flight Centre destinations, and Bali specifically, is that you get the customer. We know when we're looking at developments with you, or we're looking at different things, we know what the customer wants. We know what the customer needs, and we know what type of demographic is going into what area. We can never obviously influence a guest where to go or where to travel. Anyone that goes picks their holiday, but we want to make sure that we're in their face with the marketing, and we want to make sure that we're at the top of the mind when they choose their destination.
Sorry to interrupt there. When we talk about that and talk about influence, that also comes back to the change after COVID. We've seen a huge take up. I mean, the travel bug came back and people are traveling all over the world like never before. So that's why hotel assets are an incredible investment. But after COVID, we instead of booking for yourself, the trend started back to working with travel agents. Yeah.
Travel agents is trusted. So a lot of people during COVID, they didn't get refunds, they lost bookings, and hard to get their travel back, right? So we found not only Flight Centre Travel Group, but any travel agency, we found that the trend went back to this, right? Because there was trust, there was flexibility, right? So a lot of travel agents, they have between a 3-day and a 7-day cancellation policy, right? So for a customer, something happens, they have to postpone their trip. There's flexibility. Where you go to an online travel agent or another affiliate partner, it's very hard to have that flexibility. So that's why a lot of people book through the Flight Centre Travel Group or book through a travel agency. Most importantly, people forget that it's a full travel experience, right? So you can go into a store, you can book your flight, you can book your hotel, you can book your transfers, and the guests can walk out and have everything done instead of, I don't know about you, but when you're busy and you're traveling, you don't have time to research all this stuff.
No, I don't have the time to research, but also if something goes wrong, I don't have the time or to put it onto my staff to get this fixed and get that return. So that's it's a value-added service. People are time poor. So it was not only COVID, but we are getting busier in our lives, and it's easier to have someone acting on your behalf.
Absolutely.
With a massively trusted name.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's just talk about that. Go back to that data, because this is important to understand. With the new projects that are coming out the ground, we're working together on building 3 new hotels. And you're our hotel management company. So you have access to data that we don't have access to, and I think that's the strength of partnering in this type of environment. You talk about the trust of Flight Centre, and then what we've done is gone out and get an Australian financial services license and an investment fund, so that investors feel confident in the decision-making process they're doing. But we bring it back to the raw data. So you said you have access to information about where people are traveling to, what areas, particularly into Bali, where they want to go. What are they spending? What are their spending habits? And I guess that's what's been able for us to shape the land that we've been searching for as well.
I think, look, let's be honest, there's a lot of data out there, right? And a lot of other operators will say they've got data, but it's what they do with that data, right? So we're very good at consolidating data, right? There's a lot of tools out there. There's BI tools, AI, everything. It's about consolidating data together, right? And making calculated decisions. So whilst I am a very good hotelier, we say that, I say that without ego, but you make informed decisions, right? So that's the most important thing, is about knowing what the customer wants, where they're going, what rate is going into here, what market is going into there. If you consolidate data and you look at it properly, you can make proper calculated decisions. And I think that's the mistake a lot of people make. They say they've got data, not doing anything with that data, right?
So you're using that data technically to drive up average daily room rates and look at down periods where we need to maximize the rooms and the occupancy levels as well.
A lot of people look at data as in they look at a number of arrivals. So when you ask anyone else, they say, okay, how much data? I know how many arrivals are coming into Bali, or I know how much arrivals are coming into the airport. You want to ensure that you're using data for decisions about when you can yield your rate, right? When you can get that higher room rate, when you're not outpricing yourself. It's about making decisions, not once a month when you pull out the book and you look at are we going to make the business or not? It's making informed decisions all the way. So are you too high to your competitor? Are you not high enough? Are you yielding properly? Are you maximizing the total revenue in the hotel? I think that's the most important thing, is room revenue. People look at, we understand room revenue, but in a hotel it's complicated, right? You have spa revenue, you have transport revenue, you have rent for lease or for space. So hotels we look at these days is a total revenue approach, right? So in the old days, you might be familiar with a hotel called like a revenue, right? How much revenue you're going to get from the room. But most importantly now it's about how much total revenue we can get from the hotel and how we can yield from that. So that helps us with an operating hotel or something that we're working together.
Yeah.
But it also helps us know how we are compared to the market. Are we doing well? Are we not doing well? Are we at the top of our competitor set? Are we getting maximizing the most occupancy that we can get, and so on. There's many aspects, and I think you know me well enough. I can talk data all day, but it's about making decisions that are in the best interest of the owner or stakeholder. That's our ultimate goal, right?
So that's interesting as well. So you're putting all of that together, and then again maximizing the hotel operations income, right? And that's obviously very relevant for our investors. So now that we're building these hotels, so we're building 3 hotels together for greenfield estates, right? So we're looking at obviously the room nights, but how is that supported from the entire operation? So we're looking at gyms, but not just the basic gym. We're looking at hyperbaric chambers and red light saunas and IV and recovery and beautification, sports bars with entertainment complex. Time zone type structure for the kids and entertainment. One of the ones we have now, how we're maximizing to get the longest lagoon pool in Bali. More of that to come. But these are the type of things that we sit for many, many hours from our ideas and our concepts, but also from your background experience to help us build the right hotel from the start. Yeah.
I think I just want to take it back one step if you don't mind, right? So one of the reasons why we believe we're an alternative or a global alternative to some of the bigger chains is we're with you for this journey, right? So we're not trying to get a deal signed and then saying, okay, well, we'll see you in 3 years' time when it's built and handing over the keys and taking a photo and high-fiving. We're with you for this journey to make sure that we make decisions together based on our experience with what the market needs, right? So a customer these days is not looking for a bed and breakfast anymore. They're looking for an experience when they come in the hotel, right? COVID helped with this because COVID made people realize, you know what? It's not a holiday anymore. I want an experience, right? So you have to find the market that suits your hotel or your resort or whatever it might be. And from our side, our job is to inform you as the owner or you as the stakeholder to maximize your revenue per square meter so you have a good return for your investor, for your owner, for your customer, whatever it might be. And our job is to tell you what's needed. Hotels don't need a Japanese restaurant anymore if they're in the center of a Legian or a Kuta. You know, our job is to tell you what's needed, and we're not going to give all the secrets away on this podcast. But the point is, it's about knowing, okay, this area needs a speakeasy bar or a time zone, but this area needs a sports bar because there's none in a 2-kilometer radius. And because we're on the ground, we can tell you this, and we can have a meeting regularly, and we're here to be on this journey with you. So we look at hotel management agreements or partnerships. It's like a marriage, right? So we're together for the length of the contract, and we want to make sure that we go through these steps together.
Yeah, and I think what I've enjoyed about this process in the last couple of months is about the team that Geonet has put together. You guys, in your experience, your technical experience coming out of Thailand, your guys are incredibly smart. Your architectural teams. We have Inspiral on our side to come up with the exoskeleton, the award-winning architect to help with the team. We have Chris Thompson. There's another podcast coming with him. He's built Robina Town Centres, Westfields, commercial buildings in Australia, bringing that expertise into Bali as well. Our own internal architects, and then of course we're working with Jack Hospitality, who have launched 50 odd hotels in a 5-year period with Intercontinental. So it's all of these people together that are maximizing the new investment opportunities that are out there for Australians that aren't really wanting to invest in Australia anymore because the yields aren't there, but then understanding we have this whole new investment class that we can be working on together. So, okay, yes, Geonet is new in its development, but as a team, we have an incredible amount of experience, and you guys are just working so well together, I think, as a team, which has been exceptional for us.
This whole collaborative approach, it's, that I think that's what's missing, right? And I think the people that are
Partnering, yeah.
you're together for the success of the project, right?
This was the interesting thing when we started talking, maybe 8 or 9 months ago, is when you were going through that journey, and I said, we love real estate. We love getting returns for our clients. We've done, apartments and co-livings and we brought fractionalization into the market here. And we get so excited about that. And we're super excited about doing this project. But we don't want to be the hotel management company. And you're like, well, we don't really want to do real estate. And we're like, perfect. That's what a partnership is about. Two strengths coming together for the same common goal, and then delivering an investment product to people that work. Yeah.
And it's exciting. I've enjoyed the process, and I think speaking to the partners, that everyone that you've got that brought in, everyone has the same goal. We want to build something that is the best unseen on this island, and that's exciting, right? We want a property, especially as a hotel management company. That's our bread and butter, right? So,
and we've got a blank canvas, right?
This whole thing is like, you can build a 5-story hotel and plunk it in the middle of nowhere, but if it has no identity, if it has no red light saunas and all these kind of time zones and all these kind of things, then it's just another hotel and another destination.
Yeah, and again, that comes with the strength of partnering, and even when we go back into Australia, it's partnering with our sales channels. It's partnering with the sales channels investors and how they've helped so many of their clients over the years create wealth through property investment in Australia. But unfortunately, it's just not there anymore. They're looking overseas. Bali's the perfect place. They've always wanted to invest in Bali, but who's behind the scenes? Who are the brains behind the operation? And it's not just me, that's for sure. It's the extended team. I guess it's. I wanted to talk about some of the big wins that Cross have done. You talk about the hotels that you've got under management. Let's talk about some of the occupancy levels that you've got already with some of your brands. And again, why is Bali so popular? But also some of the hotels that you've taken over as well, and you've put your methodology, the Cross methodology, and how did that win?
I think obviously we're talking in detail some of the things we can't share on this forum, but it's most importantly is we back up the talk on what we're going to do, right? So if you think back of every time we're going to give you a projection or give you some kind of forecast, what we think we can do, we make sure that we believe in it, right? And the difference between us and other companies is that we sign the deal, we do the deal, we give you what we're going to do, and then on the flip side of that is our team is on the ground managing this. That's different than the competitive edge that we have from the other companies, because once we say we're going to do it, we're going to own it, right? And that's for you building something. Let's talk the ones that we already opened, right? So we run most of our hotels over 85% occupancy year round, right? There's a property in Legian in particular that runs 93% year round, right? We are batting well above the average.
93%. And that's, as a hotel management company, that's kind of where you want to stop it as well, right? Because you don't want it running any more than that, because then things start to break. You still need your time to renovate. And
you have to find the balance on. In hotels, we look at what we call volume, so it's occupancy, or you look at yield, right? If you're really good, you can do both, right? So that's what we think that we're good at, is finding that balance where you don't sacrifice on the asset. Our job is to maintain the asset, and you don't sacrifice on the guest experience, right? So we can any hotel in this island can run 99%, 100% year round. They sacrifice on rate, right? And that goes back to the data. If you're not knowing what you can do and how far you can stretch that, then you're probably in the wrong job, right? And that's the honest truth. You have to make calculated decisions that you can go, you know what? We probably can get another 10, 50% on the room rate, more than the competitors, because the market's coming in. The market is accepting this, right? See, it's an analogy. They say, you know what? I don't know, swimming analogy, right? You got to stay in your lane. These days, if you think back to the old days, you were looking at what you were doing. So let's say you're a sportsman and you are very good at what you're doing, right? You didn't have Instagram and you didn't have Facebook to know what the competitors were doing either side, right? You just focused on what you were doing well and what you were doing good at, right? I think hotels, they get caught up in, you know what, we need to be a little bit under the competitor next door so we get the business, right? Instead of working out, you know what, both of us can drive the rate up, and then we both win, right? The mindset change.
But this is happening in Bali anyway, you know. I mean, across the world we have cost of living crisis, right? Which is probably why we're seeing, I believe, and why we're seeing so many from Western countries still coming into Bali, because it's still a very cost-effective holiday for still a luxury experience. But the prices are going up. Bali is still, you can go very cheap for your holidays in Kuta, and as you come up into Seminyak, people are demanding a more luxurious experience as well, right?
I think the experience is it's a given now, right? And we need, like I said, need to be better than the competitor. The rates are going up, but Bali is a far more better exercise than having a holiday in Australia. Let's be honest, right? So that's appealing. But where Bali has changed is we're developing the scene outside of hotels. We have some of the best restaurants in the world, right?
With our hands down.
We have some of the best beach clubs. And that people are coming for that experience. So people forget when they're developing something that, why can't we not bring this into the hotel, right? Like I touched on before, we don't need an all-day dining and then a Japanese restaurant and a two-room spa and a conference center, all that. This is old-fashioned cookie-cutter approach, right? You need different stuff. You need the speakeasy bars. You need the time zones. You need the infrared saunas.
Because that's recovery, beautification, all of these type of things, yes.
So just going back to the occupancy. So one thing is driving the occupancy, and I can say we're without a doubt we're well and truly above the market, right? How long that will continue is unknown, but that goes back to the data-driven approach. But what we're very good is, and especially because we have obviously an Australian parent company, and we have a lot of people that have worked in this Australian workforce, is we maximise the profit for the owner, right? So we understand.
And when we say maximise the profit for the owner, that's not just us; that's the investors.
Yes, we want to make sure that we don't have too many staff. We want to make sure that we give the ultimate experience for the guest, but not sacrificing the experience. That's the different thing. So our job is to make sure that we're looking after our stakeholders, as I said before. So that is revenue, and that is maximising the cost, and then doing everything in our power to how do we do more? How do we stretch that a little bit more, right? How do we get that second property? How do we get that third property? That's our goal.
So I guess, as I said at the start, you know, our selection criteria was very, very important. Who do we go through? I guess because of what we're doing as an organisation, we had the choice of a lot of different partners we could have had as a management company. Working with you guys in the last 9 months now has been an absolute pleasure. And it's just going to get better. The way that you've been able to influence the team so far, and the team that's behind you as well, has been exceptional. So we're happy with our selection. Our channels are happy with our selection, and our investors are too. So there's going to be a lot more podcasts as we get down and get closer to the exact details that we launch the hotels. But I do want to thank you for your time today, Evan, just to come in and do a bit of a teaser so that the investors do know who's behind, who are the partnerships that are behind the new development company and investment company. So
it's been such a pleasure. I hope I can be on another one.
Another one's coming soon. Evan, thank you so much. Guys, thanks for tuning in to another podcast for Geonet Property and Finance Group. Stay tuned. We have more podcasts coming as we get into the details of the new projects that are coming and our new investment fund. But thank you for tuning in today, and appreciate your time.